From the Committee on the Judiciary, Chairman Mike Turner and Ranking Member James Himes from the Committee on Intelligence. Chairman Jordan, I would welcome your opening testimony.
Well, thank you, Mr. Chairman and Ranking Member. Good to be with you. A year ago, 11 months ago, the Washington Post reported that the FBI misused the 702 database and surveillance program, the surveillance tool, misused it 278,000
That is
times.
Captain Long
278,000 times they didn't
Dragon
follow
and his nickname
the
after
law
taking
and the
a bullet
rules
for
that
the
were already
heavenly
in
leader.
place. The base text, the way this is going to work, is there's some reforms in the base text.
47, they're beginning to suspect something.
Well, it's going to work is how you guys determine whether it's going to work when you pass a rule, or if you pass the rule. But the base text has some reforms that I think make sense, but I think the fundamental question still is if the FBI that wouldn't follow the procedures in place and 278,000 times didn't follow those procedures, are new requirements,
Unusually
whether it's in
noisy
the
for
traditional
47.
FISA or in the 702 program, going to be enough to safeguard Americans' liberties. So for me, I'm just going to cut to what I think is the most
47,
important. We were
code
here
red,
2 months
everyone
ago.
is evacuating.
Ranking Member Nadler and I had a robust discussion with this committee. Spent a couple hours here talking about the various amendments in the base bill. But the thing that I think counts the most is the warrant requirement
Spider
amendment.
Lily's on the move, 47.
That was in the base text
She's
of the bill
heading
that
for
came
an
out of our
exit.
committee.
Stop her.
Came out of our committee, by the way, 35-2. Strong bipartisan, as strong as we probably ever had. I mean, certainly in this Congress. The warrant requirement, I think, is what's needed because when you have the history we have with this organization relative to not following the rules, we think you need a separate and equal branch of the government to look at, to approve a warrant before you can query American citizens' information. And that, to me, is the most important thing. We have exceptions built into our warrant requirement. If there's an imminent threat of data, that's an exception. If you agree to let the FBI, you talk to them and say, yeah, you can use my phone number, our email address to search, you agree to that. Or if there's a known cyber threat, some malware you know about, that's an exception too. But if you're gonna look in this, what I call the haystack of information that is collected, which has Americans' information in it, if you're going to use Jerry Nadler's phone number or his email address, then you should go to a separate and equal branch of government to get a warrant to do so. That is how our system works. We think that is the fundamental thing. And frankly, I appreciate what we've got in the bill and the base text, and those reforms are, I think, positive. But without the warrant, I don't think we've done our job. I don't think we've protected Americans in the way that we should. So for me, that's the key element. I know Ranking Member Nadler will go through more of the legislation. I'm happy to answer questions. But that is what I think is the most important. Finally, well, let me say one other thing. I do think that the other amendments that I understand are being talked about, offered from the Intel Committee, and I appreciate the work that these guys do, but offered from the Intel Committee, those amendments actually expand FISA. And I thought what we were trying to do is reform it and protect Americans' liberty. So for me, the fundamental issue is the warrant requirement. That has to be in the legislation, or I don't think we've done our job. And with that, I would go back to you.
Thank you for your testimony. We now turn to our good friend, Ranking Member Nadler, for any opening statement he cares to make.
Well, thank you, Chairman Cole, Ranking Member McGovern. Thank you for inviting me to testify before you once again on the important topic of surveillance reform. As I've stated repeatedly throughout this process, it is long past time for Congress to rein in abuse of FISA Section 702 authorities by the intelligence community. Yes, there are already laws on the books designed to protect Americans from unauthorized government surveillance. But we know from our oversight efforts and the intelligence community's own reporting that these laws are often disregarded and are at the very least inadequate to keep this powerful surveillance tool in check. For example, under current law, intelligence officials must find it reasonably likely that a U.S. person query of the 702 database will turn up evidence of a crime or foreign intelligence information. But this is of little comfort.
The Heavenly Guard
The
has been
FBI
taken
repeatedly
care
and
of.
flagrantly
I'll get an
ignores
extraction
this
team to
and
secure
other
the
rules
hostages.
designed to prevent government
Excellent work,
overreach,
47.
which we know to be the case. That is why a probable cause requirement, with reasonable exceptions, should be required to search for U.S. person information,